So thank you very much to be here with us. So we are very pleased to take this coming hour to share with you the journey that we are having. I wanted to say we had, but not we are having, in using Kubernetes in a secure manner. So we will share with you, so don't hesitate also to ask questions and share also your experience during the conference. So I will skip this one, not very important. So we will discuss and present how we see the security for Kubernetes, explain also what are our challenges and the objectives we have in the way to secure Kubernetes, explain you the path that we followed in this journey of securing Kubernetes, and of course also share with you more honestly the difficulties that we faced, of course, because it's not so simple. But maybe also before going directly on Kubernetes and security, we will take some minutes to present ourselves and the context, our context, for you better know in which context we are using Kubernetes. So I'm very pleased to share the floor with Yannick Doroche here. That is an Airbus Defense and Space Cloud and IT Infra expert and architect. 15 years experience on IT infrastructure for space systems and for defense customers. And it's also the technical authority for all the designs that are done by Airbus Defense and Space in Toulouse site.
Yeah, thank you, and I'm also pleased to share the space here with Tony, which is a senior technical officer with technical authority for the Elancourt site of Airbus Defense and Space in our center of competence. He's also many years of experience in IT infrastructure, mostly in defense market for MODs across the world. And he's also leading the innovation topics in our center of competence, which is for cloud IT infrastructure and DevSecOps delivered to end customers. So we are not part of the internal ICT team of Airbus or Airbus Defense and Space. We are in the engineering part, trying to design and deliver IT systems that support products and services that are sold by Airbus Defense and Space to end customers. Okay, we'll have a deeper look in the landscape of our usages, deliveries, products, and so on with Tony.
Thank you, Yannick. So maybe all of you know Airbus. Who know Airbus? Okay, not too bad. I think you came by plane, maybe. But Airbus is not just Airbus commercial aircraft, that of course all of you know. Airbus is also a group, and inside the group we have Airbus commercial, helicopter, so I suppose you know also the helicopters done by Airbus, and we have defense and space, in which we have military aircraft that is doing aircraft, but for military customers. We have space doing satellites and solutions regarding space, and we have inside that connected intelligence that is providing information system for defense customers and building secure connectivities also for defense customers. So we are part of the engineering building those systems and more focus in our part about IT infrastructure for them. So what are the main systems that we deliver? So we deliver mainly information systems for defense customers. So you have the intelligence systems, so about EMINT, OSINT, different kind of sources. We have command and control systems, so to task the troops and have information about what is going on the field. From connectivity, secure connectivity, we have our own satellites for doing governmental communications and military communications, and we operate that, of course. And in space, we have also Earth observation stuff. We have global positioning solutions also, contributing to Galileo, for instance. So, as you can see, a lot of activities for for governmental and Ministry of Defense customers mainly.
You probably heard about before EADS group. You add inside Astrium, you add inside Cassidian, you add inside military aircraft, which were part of Airbus commercial aircraft. Then they decided to rename everything under the Airbus umbrella, okay, because that's a strong name, well known in the world. And for defense and space, they decided to gather quite very different businesses to shake it and to name it Airbus Defense and Space. Okay. But that's it.
And maybe just to link with Suzy Suscon today leitmotiv, our customers today really want to have the choice, and mainly the choice about sovereignty. It's easy to understand why European governments want to be sovereign against American technologies.
Or Chinese.
Or Chinese, you're right, thank you. So clearly it's a very, very important point for us today to help our customers to take the direction of choosing sovereign technologies and suppliers. So our mission, it's covering the full scope of IT infrastructure, because we are focused on IT infrastructure, but of course information system, because we are not doing infrastructure for doing infrastructure. We are clearly delivering the infrastructure suitable for the different business workloads, business customers that we serve. So here you have a sort of very high-level summary of these different slices of infrastructure. So from the bottom you see the hardware, on the top you see the modern application. We say modern because of course our customers have a lot of legacy, so not everything is cloud native, of course, as of today. And we place on the left and right the transversal stuff. So on the left on your screen, all the things about security, of course. So the fact that we have to design, and we design everything since the beginning, considering the security, having also services and solutions that allow reaction on posture against the threat. Be sure that all the elements that we are using are trusted, and all the integrations that we put on top of those codes are also trustable and verifiable, but we will present that later on, of course. And on the right, you see more management stuff, the fact to be able to handle multiple platforms, multiple environments in a federated manner. What more? Okay, the other points are not very important. We have a particularity in our business, so it's on the bottom, but I have a slide just after that details that a bit. So we are delivering infrastructures that are on fixed premises, so on the customer premises, so that it's very comparable of any business, big server rooms,
data center,
so you can see that on the left, for doing large range of activities. But we also have to do what we call fog data centers, which are mainly deployable data centers that go in a fixed environment, but not so fixed. For instance, when we work for Navy, okay, the ship, inside the ship, the infrastructure is fixed, but the Navy is moving, so the network connectivity, etc., is always, it's moving. And when we work for land forces, the data centers that they build according to the mission, so they have to evolve and to change this infrastructure regarding the mission. So we call that fog data centers or fog architecture. And of course, more and more now, we also provide edge infrastructures to our customers when they have to compute and store data more on mobile points, on the move points, which is new in their architectures.
And even far edge also use cases where you can consider a drone with an embedded computing power processing for some tactical use cases, or wearable items on a soldier to keep on, I don't know, the health monitoring, to the ammunition remaining, and so on and so on. So that will be the Soldier 2.0. Exactly. Anybody played Command and Conquer or stuff like that here? Okay.
More than half. It's better than security.
Yeah. So keep an eye that 2030 will be the objective for such equivalent into the armies for at least European defense. Pretty exciting, no?
So now you know a little bit better about us and about our context, our customer context. Let's jump into the topic of today, so Kubernetes and security. So of course, when we are talking about cloud environment, cloud native applications, we are not inventing the wheel by ourselves. So we are fully aligned and following cloud native computing foundation recommendation architecture principles, of course. But based on, due to what we explained about our context, we have 3 facts that make us having to adapt a little bit or to exchange, to make some evolution on our roadmaps. The first is the fact that for our customers, be connected to internet is not possible, is not an option.
More than 90% of the use cases we have.
So lifecycle management, get services from the community is something that we can't count on. So have local repos, be sure that we can download everything, that there is no dependencies with the internet ecosystem is our duty, is our nightmare sometimes, to be very transparent with you.
Appropriate.
Yeah, it's a nightmare. But it's also why our customers come to us, because he expects that people like Yannick and me are able to fix that difficulty. The second point, of course, is as for any business, cyber attacks are more and more sophisticated, more and more frequent. So all our systems are to be prepared and designed to mitigate the risk or to avoid the risk. And as you can easily understand, the third point is our customers are the one of the main targets for cyber attackers. So they are very, very, very exposed. So it's very important for our customers and for us to deliver them very, very, very secured solutions. I will give the floor to Yannick for more details now.
I will grab this if you can. Okay, just a small poll. Who knows cloud native computing foundation landscape? Okay, I was expecting a full room. Okay. And who knows every single piece of codes inside the Cloud Native Computing Foundation landscape? Please raise your hand. Okay, so I think we can agree on the fact that the ecosystem is really complex to handle. And every 6 months you have a revolution in terms of compute, in terms of network, in terms of orchestration, in terms of storage, and so on and so on. Stuff are increasing its popularity, increasing its performance, and so on and so on. So it's very hard to follow it. But still, we need to give a try to follow this. And maybe later on you will remember that slide when I will talk about please select a software editor, somebody you can trust to help you following all this stuff. So we'll try to address the entire ecosystem hardening, because if you just focus on Kubernetes and secure only Kubernetes, you are missing half of the story, definitely. Okay, so keep it also in your mind. It will rely on many, many stuff. So here are some steps we followed in our journey. It started, roughly 3 to 4 years ago now, about it, when we discovered Kubernetes. It was in 2018 for our use cases and so on. And then we deployed Kubernetes, we played with Kubernetes, then we realized that it was open bar. So we need to have some hard time defining how to secure the entire stuff. So these are some steps we'll try to address also with you today. Not everything, because again, 1 hour slot is really too small for such discussions. And maybe we have other topics not yet identified, and please feel free to reach out with us if you have ideas, advice. We'll hear from you, of course, very accurately. So this slide, this one is to settle a bit our approach. We decided to go and seek for information from standards, from organizations, and so on and so on. So Gartner was part of them. They shared with us this study. There's this big picture with a text with that, but they were talking about cloud workload protection platform, cloud security posture management, cloud native protection platform. But for instance, there is CASB here, which is not here, and there is cloud native protection platform here, which is not here. So first, don't trust one single source of information for this kind of stuff, okay? Please do your exchanges with your peers. Some exchanges we do have with colleagues from Ariane Group, from Airbus Helicopter, from also other companies which are not our competitors and so on. Please do create such communities in your area, in your country, to be sure that you are quite going on the same direction, being able to improve the security of the product and the service you are delivering. But the focus is here, actually, at least. Okay, let's consider the Cloud Native Computing Foundation products and COTS ecosystem to be sure that you're selecting something which is mature enough, distributed enough, to be supported enough. Hardening guides are also available, coming from different organizations on the earth. Maybe someday we'll have something coming from the ENISA, so the European Security Agency. There are stuff coming from the DISA, from the United States, but I do not trust 100% what is written inside. But still, there are some interesting things to take into account. And also, be sure that you have a cloud-native application platform protection enabled for your Kubernetes environment. And products like, for instance, Neue Vector is masterpiece to have such equivalence of observability and so on. So we'll have exchange on that later on. So first, trusted supply chain. You probably heard about that 1,000 times during these last 2 days, but that's the beginning of the story. If you can trust your bricks, you can either create a marvelous aircraft or a Death Star. Okay? And you probably won't know that you created a Death Star before the TIE Fighter will come. So yeah, definitely trust your supply chain. Put in place a trusted supply chain. Don't let your developers go to Docker Hub, even Package Hub from SUSE and so on, or GitHub and stuff like that. Do put in place trusted supply chain, a trusted internal registry where you can select the artifact you will synchronize with your providers. Do put in place contracts with such providers. So a few years ago, we created a partnership with Bitnami. Who knows Bitnami? So okay, before they were bought by VMware, we created a partnership with Bitnami and created with them their portfolio actually. This was part of our use cases, so they decided to create such organization with artifact automatic build and delivery to end customers. We agreed a contract with VMware Tanzu Application Catalog later on, and since few months now, we open discussions with SUSE to be part of the beta of SUSE Application Catalog. And yes, of course, this will be through Rancher Prime equivalent, and also a second provider will consider later on. So being able to also trust this provider, you can also trust the signature of this provider, and you can check the signature of the artifact you will synchronize. And later on, before running workloads or before running these artifacts on your platform, you can lastly check again its signature before running it. That's a way to keep observability and trust up to the runtime execution. Second topic, which is very interesting, is to be sure that you reduced the attack surface and you have control on the attack vectors. So a hardened operating system is the real baseline. An immutable one is the best also. So Slim Micro or any equivalent with such a reduced attack surface, an immutable approach is really a masterpiece. On top of that, you'll have to deploy this Kubernetes runtime, container workload orchestration also assets. Then you will need to consider the hardening guides that are available in the market. I do have a dream that such hardening will be built in by default. I did have a dream, sorry. And some smart people decided to buy Rancher and to introduce in their entire stack RKE2. So very interesting also, because by default you have quite, yes, most of the game which is already done. but still you need monitoring and observability auditing, not to trust 100% what you are integrating, okay? And it's not because you did this properly that you are done also, because security by compliance, again, it's a third of the game. You still need to monitor real time and to make audits of your platform, to be sure that you are not drifting, to be sure that you are not missing some elements. Be also smart guys in order to automate the deployment and the lifecycle management of your assets. Tools like a SUSE manager or any equivalent to deploy already hardened operating system and to automate the patching of the different assets, the different endpoints, is not an option, actually, definitely. To renew the certificates, to many kind of stuff, go automation first in order not to have issues in your operation environment. And again, who has 100% SUSE products only in its data center? Really?
Good. 2, 3.
No, 3. I saw 3
cool.
hands up. Okay. So that's pretty rare, but nice. Most of us do have red things, orange things, blue things, and so on to handle also. And hopefully, SUSE Manager is open enough to make choice happen. It has been okay, but not only choice happens. You know that also. So be equipped, be tooled for this kind of stuff. The next chapter is one of the less known by people. By default, the network inside Kubernetes is a nightmare because it's open bar. Any pod deployed in Kubernetes by default has access to any network interface of the worker. By default, okay? So if you did pretty well in your deployment, in your architecture, splitting interfaces and network cards for administration purpose and so on, and storage purpose and production purpose or data exchange and so on, well, so one pod in your deployment by default has access to all these networks. That may be a problem, definitely. So please consider having a cloud-native interface module that will, container network interface module that will help you to make a bit some hardening on this. Solutions like Calico, for instance, is also by default good, but not as good as today what is possible with Cilium, especially for inter-cluster connectivity, inter-cluster service mesh, service discovery, and so on. So there are many features available by default with a Cilium deployment that helps you encrypt node-to-node traffic, to also make available what is called mutual TLS, MTLS. So your workloads may focus on doing classical data exchange through HTTP, doesn't matter. Then with MTLS, you can encrypt the traffic. So they don't care about certificates. You are responsible for this part. So they are also happy with that. If they don't have to handle message bus interface, certificates renew, and so on, your developers will be more than happy. And you will be also happy because you have then control on that and you can renew it at the pace of your security posture management. So again, this is not an option. Please consider a CNI which is appropriate to your environment, to your skills also you can maintain, of course. But this one is not a bad choice, of course. Next to the network, you have also the storage part, which is, again, one topic which is not that big so much. Depending on your use case, you don't need, of course, encrypted disks. Okay, it depends on your local security posture for physical access to the data centers and so on. But for the use cases we presented to you, you may imagine that, okay, somebody can go and grab a disk. So we need to rely also on encrypted disk, should be software-based or hardware-based, because today you have also a natively AES chipset inside some disks as an offer available at some providers, so you can consider it. Encrypted volumes also for volume share. You have also backup and restore, which is important because don't consider that doing everything we're presenting and sharing with you, you will not be attacked, okay? You will be attacked. So please consider also a strong backup and restore strategy in order to recover from an attack and being able to serve your customers.
And Yannick, it's not just an attack. Shit happens.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes you have a big major failure on your system. If you have no backup somewhere, you can't restore anything. So we have to prepare also for
Totally
big issues.
Interoperability is also a dream, but stuff like the Soda Foundation. Who heard already about the Soda Foundation before? It's nothing to do with Coca-Cola, Pepsi, and so, okay? Please do have a look to the Soda Foundation. That's a way to make interoperable different storage solution in a way that you can replace one solution by another one and keep the same interfaces. So that may help also to make choice happen. Role-based access control everywhere. That's obvious, but it's not possible anywhere. So please consider it as soon as possible. And please, I beg you, please do select solutions you can support. Okay? I've seen so many deployments of open source RookSafe that crashed and with data loss. So I'm fed up with that. So please select solutions that you can procure support, or at least you have skilled and smart people in your company, in your team, that are able to troubleshoot such stuff. If you are not able to have such guys in your team, please do rely on solution of the market, and whatever it will be provided by SUSE or not, okay? I assume that sentence, fine. Pierre-Yves is not that happy, but okay. Longhorn is a choice, for instance, an interesting one. As soon as they will solve some performance issue, on our use cases, for instance, we do have massive data processing use cases, so we need a performant enough storage foundation. And yeah, for half of our use case, it's still not at the appropriate level, but I'm pretty sure that 80% of the use cases are valuable today in Rancher. So in Longhorn. So please also have a look to that instead of RookSafe, please. Who had headaches already with RookSafe? No, be honest, please. Okay, there are a few.
No, the other ones never tried the RookSafe.
Probably the other ones already
okay.
already learned that. Fine. Next chapter is the lifecycle management and the vulnerability management of your Kubernetes clusters. Because if you deploy vanilla Kubernetes, you may have some headaches also doing the lifecycle management, the upgrades and so on, okay? So that's really important when you consider such deployments to have, if you want to go 100% open source stuff, vanilla Kubernetes, or again, RookSafe and so on, having a very strong and skilled team on these topics, because the only one I saw with such level of mastering is OVH Cloud, as of today. But then they are still also proposing to their end customers Rancher-based deployments and so on. So, okay, just think about that. If you have not such a team in your company, do select a Kubernetes distribution on which you can procure support also. And in the market, hopefully, find also supports at subcontractor level and so on, okay? Helping you to make the lifecycle management of a Kubernetes cluster, which is not a simple story. For vulnerability management, it also helps. Most of the time, you have also tools and modules that can be added to your Kubernetes distribution orchestration center, like a Rancher or one. And you can introduce artifact management and use also vulnerability report. Who already heard about VEX, about CSAF? Okay, 2 people. You definitely need to have a look to OpenSSF, okay? Because inside you have standardization of SBOM, you have standardization of vulnerability exploitation report, vulnerability management, and yeah, frameworks that are today kept and captured by actors like Black Duck. I don't remember the name of the company behind Black Duck, but stuff like that. And this is the open way to consider it and to make it interoperable between different tools. So please have a look to that. It will help you to make your vulnerability management and contextualization also of your vulnerability, because not every vulnerability needs to be patched. It should be exploitable to be patched. So
you can't.
And you can't, of course, you can't, because every day, every hour, there are vulnerability coming. So please do consider also tooling for that. Things like Rancher and RK2 for the Kubernetes lifecycle management, Neue Vector also for the vulnerability checks inside your workloads and to lock down your cluster and your execution, your workloads. And with your toolbox, you can then create stuff very interesting. So, for instance, here you have an example of an automation of vulnerability discovery up to patch deployment and production, based on open source tooling, of course, Trivi for having a scan on the artifact. You can have then a vulnerability which is discovered, then you can ask for the next version of the artifact, or you have the patch which is already provided by your Tanzu application catalog or your SUSE application catalog. Then you can synchronize your registry with the new version of the artifact, which include the patch, and you push it in your deployment pipeline. You can run then deployments on your staging environment, in your pre-prod qualification environment. Please consider having a qualification environment. And I'm telling that because in our positions, we are always asked to justify why there is a need of a reference platform and so on and so on. So most of the time, we succeed in having such a reference platform, but in some use cases, the customer is so close to its money that he doesn't want to have a reference environment, and then he regrets, and then he's paying a reference platform, or at least to train his guys and so on, at least. But then just to test that there is no regression, no additional bugs and so on coming with the new artifact, that's a way to validate it. And as soon as it is validated, you can synchronize your qualification registry to your production registry and push the update. So having this automatized will help you and save you money, time, stress, doliprans, and so on. So this is the current architecture we are trying to follow. There is no nationalize only or any secrets we are revealing here, okay? That's mostly based on common sense and use cases we have been studying, of course. There are 4 pillars, actually, to define such an architecture. The first one, which is trusted digital supply chain. We will explore in few months now also what is called the Silicon Root of Trust. I don't know if you already heard about that, C-Root, which provides you also trusted firmware for your hardware. You have stuff like OpenBMC, Linux boot also to be explored, to be able to master a bit more what is provided to you by your hardware supplier. So first, trust your providers and be in a position that where you can trust your provider. Skill management. Who in that room is suffering from skill management, trainings? Really? You're very lucky. Okay. In a different space, it will be probably more hand raised, but that's a problem for big organization. So that's such a knowledge management and knowledge transfer and so on. But that's mandatory to be able to understand the cloud native computing foundation landscape, to be able to select the appropriate cuts and to integrate it, to make tests with it and to integrate it into your system. And after all of that, the 4th pillar is to have a strong foundation for your deployments, because having a very secured Kubernetes deployment is useless if you can trust your DNS, your NTP, your identity access management, and stuff like that. Okay, so you need to consider that you have also these core services available when you want to deploy then additional services on top. For instance, who does DNSSEC here? Okay, secure NTP. Who does it? You should. One guy. That's stuff we are sharing with you. Please do consider it, because that may save also some headache. But by default, also for just to share you something, core DNS inside Kubernetes is the central place when you can query DNS stuff and so on. By default, it's unsecure. There is no airbag on top of that. So if you have somebody outside the cluster that can query the core DNS service, it can have the entire list of the services that are available in your cluster. That is a huge attack surface, a huge. Okay, because after that you can do deny of service on these IPs and DNS entries and so on. That's pretty hard to handle after that, and pretty hard to detect also, because I don't know many people monitoring core DNS requests and so on and something like that. So we are coming to the end of the reaching the end of the presentation. Our journey brought us to consider zero trust architecture as also a target to reach in the end, because most of the pillars that are inside the zero trust architecture are common sense by default, and are also topics to address to be able to master every piece of your information system. And yes, this is very cool to consider Neue Vector for roughly 70–80% of these pillars. So if you introduce Neue Vector in your Kubernetes environment, you are gaining a little bit more confidence in such topics. There are still other topics to address. Mastering the devices is a topic. Mastering also the network access control is also a topic, because Neue Vector as of today, or I may be wrong also, but only handles what's inside your Kubernetes cluster and not the relationship between outside users and providers. So it will be a good feature to implement also something like a distributed firewall inside Neue Vector, but also for external connectivity and being able to select what is possible and not possible with your Kubernetes environment. A bit of honesty now. We cannot be exhaustive in these slides, and we were asked to do a decider or a business way approach of a presentation. We do have deeper topics to exchange in a more technically manner. So feel free to reach out with us if you want to trigger exchanges and so on, like some of you did already. I recognize some faces. Kubernetes hardening is a long journey. It's complex also, because as I said, every 6 months you have a revolution or a new actor coming in the loop, so it's very difficult. Who is using the latest version of Kubernetes in production today? Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Who is in 1.24 because fearing 1.25? Okay. Who is in 1.20? Don't be liars. I know you do. There are so many places where you still have 1.18. I had exchanges with people having 1.18, so that's pretty common. And that's because also your developer teams are not used to follow that pace. So yeah, being also prepared and help them understand this ecosystem and so on. As soon as you can abstract the complexity of the Kubernetes environment, please take the opportunity. That's a way to keep you in the loop and to make them not suffer, or don't make them make you suffer. It's not a finished study on our side, because we are still discovering topics on this journey, and maybe here we are planned to have a MVP available. We have a prototype as of today available for deployments for our end customers, but a real product and available for most of our use case mid 2025. So we'll probably see you next year. Don't know. And Tony, I'll let you the floor
Yes,
for the
thank you,
latest one.
Yeah, just broader lessons learned, not really just focus on hardening or on Kubernetes. The first one, as I suppose you already face, is the fact that it's no more possible to have expert on storage, expert on network, expert on security. Providing a piece of the puzzle is no more possible at all. All those pieces of the puzzle have to be built together with the expert talking together. So our lessons learned today is very, very important to have the teams working together and not in silo mode. The second part is about what was already said. Build a chain of trust with partners to not have to test all the technologies by yourself, verify if the promises are good or not, do vanilla stuff very fun, but at the end you never reach the production because not safe enough, etc. So very important to select the partners and the editors you will want to work with and have supported distribution, supported softwares. Very, very important. The third one, of course, is also to don't forget that more and more the internet and all the systems, it's the jungle, so never trust anything, in fact. Be very cautious about each piece of your design, the way you do it. And the last one is maybe the most obvious. All the architecture is done for having a system or a business system delivered at the end. So the security comes first by the way that the business application will be designed and architecture, taking in consideration what is delivered by the IT infrastructure. But it can't be done, once again, without taking the security at the business application level. So very important also to discuss with the architects doing business applications to have them in this security approach.
Yeah, security by design, reliability by design. You probably heard about SRE, System Reliability Engineering. You probably heard about platform engineering also. So that's our topics where you have to consider also security by design and reliability by design. It's hard for most of the developer teams we have to discuss and deal with at Airbus Defence and Space because they are coming from different environment, different experience, and so on. So, and it's really new in the engineering school and so on to have this also approach dealt by default. So they prefer teaching Java and stuff like that instead of security first approach and so on. So that's part of the topic also. Again, feel free to reach out with us if you have any other questions or want to exchange in a more close loop. And thank you very much for your attention and your questions.